You've tuned into Unpause Your Life with Dr. Callie Estes. Your access to success strategies and more to help you move onward and upward with your life. Listen in each week as she interviews others who have really taken their essence to the next level and truly unpaused their life. Now here's your host, Dr. Callie Estes.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. This is Dr. Callie Estes, and I am founder of the Addictions Academy, the Addictions Coach, and Rehab Rescue. Welcome to Unpause Your Life. This is a great podcast where we showcase people who have done something extraordinary with their life. I welcome you, and I hope you enjoy all of our guests.
On my way, found a reason to wake up another day.
Before we get started, let's hear this short message from one of my supporters.
All the things that you won't do.
Did you know 81% of Americans would like to become a published author? Chances are you might be one of them. What's stopping you? Writing and publishing a book takes a lot of work and is expensive, right? Well, not anymore. For your next book project, or even your first, team up with Hassle-Free Books. They make it so easy to become an author. They remove all of the fuss and struggle and make it smooth and simple. And it's far more affordable than you could ever imagine. Go to hasslefreebooks.com and use promo code UNPAUSE to receive a 10% discount off of any book project. Get started right away and become a published author in as little as 45 days. For your free 1-hour book formula guide, which will show you just how painless it can be to become an author, head to hasslefreebooks.com today.
All right. Thanks again for joining me. Let's get started with today's show.
Took a walk down the dark road where they said that I shouldn't go. I knew the dangers of...
Welcome to Unpause Your Life with Dr. Callie Estes of the Addictions Coach and the Addictions Academy. I have a very special guest today. I want to welcome Matt Bradley of Deadliest Catch. And Matt was introduced to crab fishing by Edgar Hansen, his best friend since junior high school. Matt is a deckhand on the Northwestern and has been featured on Deadliest Catch every year since their first season. Matt has been fishing with the Hansen family for over 23 years. Prior to fishing on the Northwestern, Matt worked as a restaurant cook for several years. This makes him well appreciated by any crew on the Northwestern. Matt and his wife Angela and their children live in Seattle, Washington. Matt also co-owns Sky Vapor, Sky Distribution, and Northwest's Finest E-Liquid. Welcome, Matt. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Awesome. Well, tell me what it's like to be working out there on the Deadliest Catch show and on the Northwestern in those frigid temperatures.
Well, like I was fishing well over 12 years before the TV show ever started. And one thing I can really say is, like, I could never really put into words what I do. And when the TV show came around, in the beginning, it was a documentary, and I finally had something that I could share with my family as well as the world. So it was quite enlightening. My mom used to always be like, "Oh, I wish you wouldn't go up there. I know it's so dangerous." And then once the show aired, she really saw how dangerous it really was.
Yeah, no kidding. I watched the one season where you guys lost somebody. One of the boats lost somebody overboard. And I was like, that's no joke. That's serious.
You have about 15 minutes in the water before hypothermia sets in, and at that point, vital organs start shutting down, and the chances for survival when you go overboard while out crab fishing are about slim to none.
Wow, have you had any close calls out there?
Let's just say I suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder from my job, and most definitely from my addiction. I've had lots of close calls. Some are worse than others. You kind of step back and take a second to breathe and go, that almost killed me. Or worse yet, you live and you're maimed for life,
Right.
Those are the things I worry about the most these days. Like dying's easy. I hate to say it like that. It sounds a little morbid, but
Yeah.
if you get hurt and you've been a fully functional human being, it changes people. And I've seen it happen over the years. Guys that lose an arm and you get a pretty good sized settlement, but it doesn't replace work.
Right. What about addiction on the high seas out there? Do you see a lot of addiction?
There's more than I care to really admit. You've got an industry that is filled with ego. Like I was saying, you're working in a high-stress environment where your life is constantly on the line, and then you make a good sum of money, and you've worked hard, and you play harder.
Yeah.
Things are changing up there. More and more companies are dry boats, so it kind of ends active addiction while in town and definitely out at sea. But it's very rampant, especially alcoholism.
Now, when you were fishing, because you're in recovery, right?
A little over 4 years clean right now.
Okay.
Most definitely in recovery.
Congratulations. Now, when you were fishing, were you actively working while in your addiction?
When I would go fish, like a week before the season, I'd be like, okay, and I was a heavy opiate addict. Had been doing heroin over 20 years. I would get strung out when I was home, and then I would get a habit. And then as it got closer to the season, I would beg my mom, tell her, this is the last time I'm going to do this. And I might show up at the house with a case of Gatorade and some Pedialyte, and I would get 2 or 3 days off of opiates. And then I would get back on the boat and just tell everybody, I'm just seasick. Puking my guts out, miserable, dope sick, call it what it really was. It wasn't seasickness. I was just in C-hab again.
Right. Now, what made you decide that lifestyle was enough's enough and you finally gave it up?
It's kind of weird. I would go back on the boat and I would have all these glorious stories of how fun my addiction was. I was in this high-speed chase, and I was with like 10 girls and really glorifying my addiction, while the rest of the guys on the boat are like, oh, I just bought my third home. I just bought a speedboat. And I'm like, yeah, well, I stayed in the Sheridan for a week and was ordering steak tartare, like I thought I was having fun. And then one day I woke up and I was just like, this is crazy. I'm making all this money. I have no credit. I pay for everything in cash, and everyone around me is, setting themselves up for their future. If that makes any sense. I thought it was so cool. And in the end, I was like, I'm never going to have anything, and not like material goods even mean that much to me. They don't mean as much to me as my sobriety and my clean time does to me today. Today I have a life worth living. I have some material stuff. I have a whole lot of responsibilities. And, I'm super grateful for all those things.
Now, when you were in active addiction and you would come to work like that, what did everyone else say? Did they believe you, or were they just kind of like, oh, here we go again? What was their reaction to you?
I think it was like, here we go again. Captain Sig would always be like, are you ever going to change? And like for him, there came a point where he was like, I'm tired of enabling you, without using that word. It's not really in his vocabulary, but he was starting to feel like if I bring Matt back on the boat, he's just going to make this money. And, he'd give me like $5,000 increments, on a $50,000 check. He'd be like, here's $5,000, go play, because you're going to play, And then it'd be 4 or 5 days go by, and I'd be like, I need another $5,000. And then it'd be like, I need all my money. You can't hold my money from me. And of course, he'd cough it up. So, he fired me one time because he was like, you're going to kill yourself one of these times home, or somebody else. He was trying to protect me, and they were super sick of it. Right before a season, and then I'm incarcerated again on some stupid charge. I put them through a lot. I sure did.
I can only imagine, because you guys are friends, but also it's a business, and he's got a business to run. And here's one of his workers that's just not up to par because he's vomiting and he's sick and he's lagging behind, and then he goes out and parties, and you're not reliable, which in active addiction, no one's reliable. We know that. So
we'd like to think we are, but the reality is no.
Exactly. So now tell me about your wife. How long have you guys been together?
So me and my wife have been together a little over 12 years. We're coming into our 13th year that we've been together. She had about 4.5 years clean when we first met. We met in the rooms of recovery. I don't know why, but she wanted a project, and I was it. I had a whole lot going on for myself at the time. I was just coming off the streets. I was living on my mom's couch, unemployable. I had told myself at that time I was never going to fish again because the minute I fished, it was going to be my demise. So Angela, my wife, was like, I'm going to help him get past 90 days. We went out on our first date, and I did what any good addict would do. Our second date, I moved in. She had, a job and a house and 2 beautiful daughters, and we kind of made things work. I have countlessly relapsed in our relationship. Quick example of why I have 4 years and she has 6 right now is she had 9.5 years clean. I had relapsed to protect herself. She had me move out of the home. We had pretty much separated, and at some point she decided the only way she was going to get me back was if she relapsed. She was hurting, not an excuse to use, but after 9.5 years, my wife relapsed, and the two of us were getting loaded together. And I can honestly say that through all of my addiction, through all of my years, I had never been with anybody I cared about that much to that level, getting loaded with them. And one thing she quickly found out was the man she loved and the man who she was in love with was not the same person when he was loaded. I can honestly say, she's one of the few addicts I've ever been with that had a moral compass that wasn't broken. I would go out and get mine every single day, no matter the cost. And I clearly remember being in a parking lot, and I looked in a car, and I was like, holy cats, there's a purse and a laptop. And the next thing I know, without even thought, I'm breaking the window, taking the purse and taking the laptop. And she's like, we have to go back and leave a note and say we're sorry and return that stuff. And I'm like, you can keep the purse. This is what I do every day. I'm not a criminal. I'm just a person of opportunity. And when it prevails itself, I take what I need. And, I'm not proud of that today. And things were so much different loaded.
Yeah. Well, everything goes out the window when you're using. You're not thinking, I'm going to get arrested. You're not thinking, we're going to get arrested. You're not thinking, we're going to get caught. And you're not thinking, Child Protective Services is going to step in and take the kids. You're not thinking about any of that. All you're thinking about is, I want to get high and I don't want to get sick. And that's it.
I don't want to be sick. And it's amazing. When we got loaded, the kids, they quickly went to family. They were like, and mind you, my youngest is today 19 years old, and she was living with her mom at the time. And the oldest was gone. The kids were like, this house is out of control. No part of the fighting, the screaming, the active addiction that was running through the home.
What's interesting, you brought that up, because when people say, someone's in active addiction, they don't think about all the other stuff. There is a lot of fighting. There is a lot of screaming. There's a lot of money missing and things missing and lying and disappearing. And it's not just somebody getting high. It's all these other facets. So it's amazing that two of you were able to work through that and stay together. Usually that tears couples apart pretty quickly.
She was scared of me. I hate to say that, but I'm so volatile when I'm loaded that, like I was saying in the beginning, to be with somebody that you love and care about and drawing up methamphetamines, and I hate to be drug specific, but that's my wife's drug of choice, and putting that poison in my wife's arm. And as my wife was an IV drug addict. 10 years before the relapse. She had collapsed a lot of veins. It was very hard to put that poison in her body. And like for me to inject narcotics into her body, it was destroying me. It was so painful. And it was so hard to get it into her. Like the ways and means of getting loaded were so horrible. It was like, I mean, even talking about it right now, it's super graphic to me.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting, an IV user, those are the hardest to stay sober because that high is so high and so intense, and then not having it at all. It's such a progression when it comes to, taking a pill and then snorting a pill and then smoking a pill. When you hit the IV level, most IV users don't recover. And those that do, it's an uphill battle. So kudos to your wife. That's amazing.
Like I've collapsed every vein in my arms. I'm very physically scarred. It doesn't show as much as it once did, but I just like in my wife's words, I can clearly hear her trying to get high because she didn't want to feel. She didn't want to be in the abusive relationship of us being loaded. She wanted so badly to be back in recovery. She wanted our lives to be somewhat like they were, if not better. And putting large amounts of narcotics in our body to not feel. And at some point, no matter how much we did, we could still feel. We could still want the kids back in our lives. Like even the dogs were like, this isn't normal, wanting some kind of normality and not wanting to be in the situation that we were in. The turning point for us in that relapse was some people who, God bless them, in the program came to the house. And mind you, we're 7 months into this. I'm down to 130 pounds. We're both not eating right. We're not taking care of ourselves. She had lost her job. It was just a daily hustle. And some friends of ours, we had booked tickets 8 months previous to go to Hawaii for some one of my sponsees' weddings. And they came and they said, if you guys can just not use while you're there, and I guess if you have to use a little substance, we'll take you to Hawaii. Your plane ticket's already paid for, and you can pay us back when you get back on your feet. And I'm like, I can't guarantee I'm going to land on my feet when we come back. But I knew one thing's for sure, that if we didn't get on that plane and get out of Seattle, one of us was going to die. And I was really sure of that. I had overdosed pretty bad, 4 days before. I wound up in the hospital and then on another possession charge. Things were just so grim. And when we got on that plane, she stayed clean since that day. I've had a couple of slips and nothing major, just enough to change my clean date. I made a poor decision and was loaded for 3 or 4 hours. Otherwise, I would have 6 years. But what I do have is over 12 years of recovery behind me, right? I just don't have the same clean date that I started with. I have a ton of knowledge today.
So this is the interesting thing, and a lot of our listeners will probably think this way too. Here's this guy who has the dream job. A lot of people want to do what you do after they've watched the show. And he's on TV.
Absolutely.
And he's so awesome. And here he is doing drugs. And I think that's such a statement for you can have everything. You've got a beautiful wife, wonderful kids, great house, awesome job. You're on television and you're still getting high. And that shows that drugs don't stop. They cross every boundary, no matter who you are, what you do, or what you have. So how would you tell somebody who's 19, 20, 21, 25, who's shooting dope, what do you say to them now?
The minute I get loaded, everything I own is worth about $20. It all quickly disappears. Making some poor decisions to pick up again, the minute I pick up, all my decisions are removed from me. I no longer have a choice, and I really believe that. And if you're in the age bracket of 19 to 25 years old and you're thinking, today I want to stop. Today I want to quit. Today I want to change my life. It's possible for any of us. There's a lot of us that will get clean, we'll stay clean, and we will never live any more than hand to mouth. And what I'm saying is we're just going to have some kind of basic job at a minimum wage level. But even with that, I've seen hundreds of recovering addicts better their lives. And you may never drive a Mercedes-Benz or some high-end car, but your life will change. And opportunities will prevail themselves. If you stay loaded, that's what you are. You will never have anything. I've yet to see anyone come back from a relapse and say, I've got a G6 and 10 cars and I bought 5 houses while I was out there without the feds coming and taking it all away from them.
That's exactly right. Even if a lot of people say, well, I'm sober, but I'm making $10 at Burger King. And I say, well, at least you're making $10 at Burger King, number one, and you're sober. That's the most important thing. And it does happen when you get
hustling $150, $200 a day habit.
Yeah.
I would, when I first decided that I wasn't going to fish anymore, and I was working at a moving company, I was moving household goods and pianos locally here in Washington. And that was the best it was ever going to be for me. I was going to be okay doing a very hard labor job for $10, $11 an hour. But I tell you, even looking back, even in this moment, those are some of the best moments of my life. When I could finally afford a new pair of shoes, I didn't have to steal them. I didn't have to buy them from a booster for half price. Everything that I was buying for myself and able to pay my mom some money for rent, I was so blessed. Like, my needs were met, and I didn't really need any more. I mean, like, when I came into the rooms, I had 1 or 2 changes of clothes. Within that 3rd and 4th week of being in the program, in my 12-step program, my clothes didn't fit me anymore. My mom took me to a thrift store and, being the good codependent mom that she is, bought me some clothes and helped me out a little bit. But the rest of it, I can remember 6 or 7 months clean and going to a department store and buying my first outfit. Like, I had this, what I thought at the moment, some baller-ass Puma outfit, and I was looking pretty flashy and feeling pretty good about myself. I had that new clothes confidence, and I had done something for myself. Like, I didn't steal it. I earned it, and I was super grateful to take better than half my paycheck just to get one outfit, like, life was good.
Yeah, everything changes when you don't have to steal it anymore and you feel accomplished. I did this. This is mine. I earned it. I didn't steal it. Because when you steal things, you have the guilt and the remorse and all that other nonsense that comes along with that lifestyle. And with heroin specifically and opiates, it's a full-time job. You can't work and still maintain that lifestyle. I mean, when you have $150, $200 a day habit and you're out there every single day, it's hard to keep that amount of money. And then with what you guys do, you get paid sporadically. So you get this big check and then boom, you spend it all and then you're broke. It's like, oh crap, I spent everything. So
it was a super vicious cycle for me.
Yeah.
Go fish, make $40,000, $50,000, come home, live high on the hog, try to do something right, take a little bit of the money, give it to my baby's mom, give some to my mom, try to, stay in the graces of the church with the family, and then the rest it's all about me. And then, by the time the money was ran out, the cops are getting hot and heavy on my trail, and it's time to go fishing again. Like, it was so hard to break that cycle for me.
Yeah. And not to mention, it gets rolling. After a while, it's like, wow, what am I doing? I'm having a little bit of fun. And then it turns into not fun at all. And all I'm doing is working and spending money and working and spending money and working and spending money. I got nothing to show for it.
Nothing to show for it.
That's when people get sober and they say, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And they say, there's got to be something better. And that sounds like what you did. Now, you're getting into the space of helping people. Tell me what you're doing in that area. How are you starting to help people in recovery and people getting into recovery?
So there's a lot of different facets to what I do. Today, I feel like I can carry a pretty powerful message. I have a home group. I have a sponsor. I work my steps, and some of the different things I've done with my recovery is every time I go fish, I get to come home and reinvent my recovery, right? But every time I have relapsed, I get to reinvent my recovery. I've been on bowling leagues and softball teams, and I've done all kinds of different stuff with my recovery. And I've always, found somebody that, I thought had some potential. And so I walk them through the 12 steps and I work with them and I help get them to meetings. And then when it's time for me to go fish, I pawn them off onto my sponsor or make sure that they got good contact information in case there's a trial and tribulation or even a good day that they need to share it with somebody if I'm not available. And like different things I do today, one of them is I volunteer on a wash truck. The wash truck goes to the soup kitchen at 3-4 different locations here in Washington. And we do the homeless's laundry. And when the wash truck shows up, a fifth wheel trailer is there. There's a couple of showers for the men and a couple of showers for the women on it and get their clothes clean. So it's one of the things I do that I volunteer my time with. And then in that process, I try to find an addict that's homeless and I work with them a little bit. I try to talk them into telling them there's a better way of life, that I've been in their shoes. And I don't like telling them I've got some stuff today, but, I do. And I've worked for it. And then I help them get detoxed. And then I bring them down to the Salvation Army, which has a 6-month treatment facility that costs, check this out, nothing.
Yeah.
It's a great place for these men and women to go, and you have to work in that facility and you have to participate, but they give you a place to live. They give you food, they give you shelter. And I really believe it's a great facility. And just as of recently, I flew down to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I got to go to several different treatment facilities. And it sounds like, somewhere in my near future, I'm really going to advance my little project of helping some addicts out. Some of the different things have been brought to light. Like I've really been putting this into the universe that Matt wants to help some people. And I have been given an opportunity to be able to do that. And I'm super grateful for it. I'm actually really excited about this next week in my life. So,
wonderful.
It just gives me a chance to give back, which was so freely given to me, and all along the way, I've had to work for this, nobody gave Matt a whole bunch of things, like my mom bought me a few change of clothes and way back in time. And me and Angela, my wife, have worked really hard to get where we are today. I mean, I co-own 3 vapor stores and a distribution center. We've launched our own e-liquid line. Lost Dreams Awaken, I always wanted to own my own business, and now that that's actually happened, and it's really been a fun project. It's its own entity. We have like 20 employees, and I just want to advance to something different. Like I said, I get to recreate my recovery, and this is the path that God has led me to at this point.
That's excellent. Now, let's say somebody is looking for some help. How could they reach you? How would they find you so that you could steer them in the right direction?
You can always hit me up on Facebook. I help lots of addicts find their first meeting, help find their way into a treatment facility. Finding me on Facebook, I try to answer everybody's questions. You can hit me up on my public profile or my regular one. I'm always open to answering questions. I have a lot of resources at my fingertips. If I can't help you, I know 3 great men right now that would be more than willing to help you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate your wisdom and your help that you're doing out there to help people get sober and, of course, fishing for the rest of us to eat. We appreciate that, too.
Commercial fishermen feeding the world.
That's you. This has been Unpause Your Life with Dr. Kajsa and Matt Bradley. Thank you for coming on the show.
Right on. Thank you for having me. It's been an honor.
Hey, everyone. Thanks again for listening. I really hope you enjoyed the show today. Head on over to iTunes and Apple Podcasts and leave a comment or review of what you think. Or contact us at 1-800-706-0318. If you want to be on our show, feel free to email or call. And if you have a topic, feel free to email or call as well.
Thanks for listening to Unpause Your Life. For show notes and more, head on over to unpauseyourlife.com.
Big shout out to recoveryinnovators.com for help producing this show. Thank you, guys.
I took a walk down the long road where they said that I shouldn't go. On my way found a reason to wake up another day. But they needed to show you all the things that you won't do. Find faith or religion, but nothing to show for it. No need to escape in love with my pain. I may be awake, but I'm alive, still alive, and I won't be bound by your mistake. No, I won't be your enemy, trapped at the gate. Bring me to life, put me to death. Just give me something that's just not so hard to believe. To believe. To believe. I took a walk down the dark road where they said that I shouldn't go. I knew the dangers of flying. Now I'm so far from solid ground. But they needed to show you all the things that you won't do. Find faith or religion, but nothing to show for it. No need to escape in love with my pain. I may be awake, but I'm alive, still alive, and I won't be bound by your mistake. No, I won't be your enemy, trapped at the gate. Bring me to life, put me to death. Just give me something that's just not so hard to believe. To believe. To believe. You lie. You lie. You lie. You lie. You lie. You lie. No need to escape with my pain. I may be awake, but I'm alive, still alive, and I won't be bound by your mistake. No, I won't be your enemy, trapped at the gates. Bring me to life, put me to death. Just give me something that's just not so hard to believe. To believe. To